All right, so good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Ashley, and I am with the Education Department at Cheehaw Park and Zoo, and we're a part of the Artesian Alliance. Hi, good morning. It's so good to see you again.
Good
So,
morning.
are we ready to learn about nocturnal animals?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so since you've joined me before and you've probably seen maybe a few of the animals that I'm going to bring out today, can you tell me what it means when an animal is nocturnal?
That they sleep in the daytime and then they hunt at nighttime.
Great job. So they're going to rest during the day and save up that energy so they can look for their food or, maybe go meet some friends at night. So great job defining nocturnal for me. So if an animal is nocturnal, they're going to, like right now, they would be asleep. And then whenever you and I are getting ready to go to sleep, they're going to wake up, they're going to stretch, and they're going to get ready to go look for snacks and friends and maybe a new nest or somewhere to hang out. Or maybe they're just going to go on a little journey looking for new things that they can use or store. So, what does that mean when an animal is diurnal?
The opposite, where they sleep at nighttime, kind of like us, and they do their things in the daytime.
Very good. So, are we nocturnal or diurnal as humans?
Diurnal.
Diurnal, very good. Now, sometimes depending on our job or, maybe our lifestyle, there's other things that play into that sometimes we're not necessarily diurnal and, maybe we're more nocturnal because of sleep habits or our jobs and things like that. So really great job helping me out this morning. All right. So what are some things that you know about for nocturnal animals? Like, can you tell me a couple of nocturnal animals you might know about?
Owls, I think, are nocturnal.
Owls, very good. What are some others you can think of?
I think some birds, other birds of prey, are nocturnal.
Very good.
Some, not beavers. Some other animal. Can't remember the name of it.
You thinking of some mammals like maybe raccoons or
Yeah,
possums,
raccoons.
that, armadillos? Yeah, very good. So, are there any adaptations that maybe you can think of that allow for animals to be nocturnal?
Maybe because at nighttime some of the other animals aren't awake, so they don't get eaten as much.
Yeah, so they have certain things about them, characteristics and skills that are going to allow for them to be able to live a little bit longer. They're going to be able to survive out in the wild, especially at night. And we're going to talk about those. Now, what's really wonderful about animals being nocturnal is that typically, if they are nocturnal, they might have a larger nose or a longer nose that's going to allow for them to be able to smell better so they can figure out what they're smelling in the nighttime. Because sometimes it's hard for our eyes, especially if we're um, diurnal like we are, or an animal is diurnal like we are. Sometimes it's a little bit, hi, thank you so much for joining. Sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for us to be able to see because our eyes haven't been able to really adapt to nighttime. So maybe we need to be able to smell a little bit better. Animals need to be able to hear a little bit better. So the first animal we're going to talk about today is one that is all around us at night. Sometimes we don't even see them. Sometimes we hear them. Sometimes we smell them. And that is a bat. Now, not all bats are nocturnal. But this bat that I have here is nocturnal. This is a Mexican free-tail bat. And we actually have those here in Georgia. And I had a really cool skeleton to show you. This is a bat that was given to us that we use as biofacts. It was, at one time, it was alive. Now it's not. This is a really great way for us to be able to look and see and even feel what their skin feels like. And this is what their skeleton looks like on the inside. How cool is that? Sorry about the glare on my computer. So you can see their bones are, and that allows for them to be really lightweight and very small and compact, because a lot of the times bats are going to be very social. So like, is this your sister that's with you?
Yes.
Are you social with each other? Do you spend time together
Yeah.
like you're doing now? And so you're social with each other. Well, bats are social as well, and they usually live in very large numbers. So usually about, 1,000 to 2,000, sometimes more, depending on the species of bat. But they live very closely together, and they'll actually fold their wings in, and they'll get close together, and they'll squish inside of like a bat house or a small area, maybe something that's not man-made, like a hole in a tree or something like that, where they can all fit. And they'll get in there and they'll squeeze up and they'll start making little noises. And then at night, whenever the sun is starting to go down, that's whenever they'll all pop out of the bat house, or whatever hole they found in a tree, and they will fly around looking for different types of insects to eat, maybe swoop down, get some water. But one of the really great adaptations that they have is called echolocation. So they're able to use that echolocation to be able to make sounds, and those sounds will actually bounce off of different surfaces. And then using those big ears that they have, let me find this one that I have. So using these ears that they have, they were able to figure out where the sound is coming from, figure out where the other bats are located, which is really amazing. And this is one of the ways that bats are able to survive and do so well as nocturnal beings. And it's because of that adaptation called echolocation. The fact that they are small, they can camouflage. Hearing is going to be their most useful adaptation, because they're able to figure out what's going on in their surroundings. This is going to help them get away from predators, and it's also going to be able to help them hear where the insects are, so they can figure out where they need to go to get their next meal. What else is really amazing about bats is because of how small they are, they're able to be very compact and very fast. So, I think of bats as being really amazing athletes because of how small and lightweight and agile they are. Another animal, you kind of mentioned it before, another animal, and we're going to actually see one in just a moment, but animals that are birds that most people think of when we talk about nocturnal birds are owls. So this right here is a very beautiful owl wing. This came off of a barred owl. And so as you can see, it is extremely soft. That it's so soft to the touch. And owls are well known for being very silent when they fly, and that's because of the way that their feathers are intertwined with each other, also because of the material that they're made out of. Owls have very, very thin, small bones, kind of similar to the skeleton that we saw for the bat here. However, owls are bigger than bats as far as what their skeleton looks like. So they are going to be a bit bigger, and their bones will be just a little bit bigger, but they're going to equally be very lightweight. So I'm going to grab this owl here, and you're going to be able to meet him this morning, and hopefully he won't be too grumpy. All right, so here is an eastern screech owl. His name is Red, just like Red from Angry Birds. And this bird is grumpy all the time, just like Red from Angry Birds.
Is that a whale?
He is actually an adult owl, so he's fully grown. And just excuse this right here. This is actually some of his equipment that's just kind of sticking up. So Red here actually is found in the Georgia woods, and they can be found all up and down the eastern seaboard. So they're going to be up and down the East Coast, and they even go into the southern portion of Canada. So these birds can be found everywhere here on the East Coast, whether you're here, you're in Virginia, you're in Maine, and even into Canada. Now, one of the reasons why we don't see them is because they're nocturnal. So, like we had talked about earlier, usually when we're asleep, they're out searching for food and they're looking to protect themselves, maybe their nest and their territory. And these birds can camouflage really well. They are able to blend in with the trees and their surroundings. And also, because of how silent they are, they're able to really zip in between trees and from area to area very quickly and very quietly. And also because of how small they are, just like that bat that we looked at, that allows for them to really be able to get from place to place quickly and without many other animals or even people noticing. So these birds have really amazing eyesight. Their eyes, even though they don't look that big, their eyes are very large. So their skull is actually made up of, most of their skull is made up of their eyes. So they're able to see things that sometimes you and I don't even see. And they have a lens that covers their eye that allows for them to really be able to see what's going on even whenever the light is low. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and you went to try and walk around or maybe get to your light switch and you open your eyes and you like look around and your eyes are trying to adjust and you can kind of see what's going on, but you can't see everything?
Yeah.
Well, owls have this lens that protects their eye and allows for them to be able to see what's going on in their surroundings. So they don't really have to allow for their eyes to adjust nearly as much as we do at nighttime. And of course, Red here is covered in those very soft feathers like we saw on that barred owl wing just a few moments ago. So that allows for him to be very lightweight and quiet, which is going to aid in his survival. Now, he can also hear well too. And why do animals that are nocturnal need to be able to hear really well?
So they can pay attention and see, like, so they can hear things, so they can like get it as of their prey.
Very good.
Predators.
Awesome job. So they're going to need to be able to locate where their prey maybe is playing, like if it's a mouse, because they're carnivores. So if they're going to eat meat only, they're going to be looking for things that, you know, are going to have lots of meat. Maybe it's some type of insect or a small snake or a mouse or something. And so these birds are going to be able to listen and even hear things like little mice that are digging or playing or trying to travel through pine straw at night. So having really good hearing is going to allow for them to be able to locate where they can get their next meal. And it's also going to allow for them to be able to escape predators, like you mentioned. And even these little birds, believe it or not, are preyed upon by great horned owls. Even though these birds are fast, great horned owls are bigger and a little bit faster. So these birds have to be very cautious about where they hang out at nighttime and even where they sleep during the daytime. All right, so I'm going to put Red away and we're going to move on to our next animal. What did you think of the owl? Was he cute?
It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a lady or a man? A boy or a girl?
So we think that he is a boy. We're not really sure. But what's really cool about birds of prey is that female birds, like ladybirds, are going to be a little bit larger than the male birds. And that allows for them to eliminate any type of like competition they might have for food. That way they can get along with each other That way they can get along with each other and they're not fighting over food. So that helps them be better friends. Now, something that's not, it's a little bit different than a bird or a mammal that we've talked about so far. It's a moth. And we all know that a lot of insects come out at nighttime because that's also where they're going to be able to find their food. And so animals like moths come out, maybe mosquitoes. What are some other insects you can think of that come out at night? Gnats, yep. And cicadas, and they make a lot of noise in the woods. So that's why some other animals have to be able. Crickets, very good. They've got to be able to hear really well so they can hear where some of these insects are, especially if they eat insects. Let's see, I've got a bobcat. And here at Chi Hall, we have a very beautiful bobcat named Paula. And I'm sad Paula couldn't join us today, but she said she was too sleepy to come hang out with me today in the log cabin. So I've got a skull of a bobcat. Now, if you look at this skull, you can see that it has a very large nose and large eyes. Bobcats need to be able to see really well. And this is where their eyes would be. And they need to be able to smell really well. So having a large nose and large eyes is going to help them be able to survive by smelling and seeing what's going on in their surroundings in the Georgia woods at night. Now, of course, bobcats can live in other places other than Georgia. There are actually different species of bobcats. I think bobcats are just gorgeous. Some of them are going to be taller. Some of them are going to be shorter. There's a lot of variation. So they can all look very different from each other. And next we have a coyote skull. And this coyote skull, as you can see, is very different than that of the bobcat. So I've got the bobcat here on top and the coyote on the bottom. Now, the coyote skull, what do you notice about it compared to the bobcat?
Smaller. I mean, it's bigger.
The coyote is bigger than the bobcat, right?
The teeth are different too.
The teeth are different, very good. And so as you can see, if you look at it from the front, they have large teeth. Both of them have large teeth in the front, which allows for them to be able to tear and pull apart meat, right? And then they have some teeth in the back they can use for chewing and grinding, which allows for them to really be able to break up the pieces of food before they swallow it. But if you notice this coyote skull, it has a very long area where the nose would be. So this is more dog-like. And, you know, do you have any dogs at home?
No.
No, but I'm sure you've interacted with some dogs before, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so most dogs, not all of them, but most dogs have a longer snout, and that allows for them to really be able to stick their nose in things because they're curious, and they're going to use that keen sense of smell to be able to figure out what's going on around them. And so coyotes, being nocturnal, really need to be able to sniff out their surroundings. Now, coyotes don't necessarily have to worry about as many predators. They're more worried about being able to locate their prey. So coyotes will hang around areas where maybe there are chicken coops because they love to eat chicken. And they're going to hang around areas where they know that they can get small mammals as well, because those are some of their favorite prey items. Okay, so next I'm going to bring out one of my favorite animal friends. I'm very excited for you to see this one. Now, this one is usually pretty surprising to people when we tell them that this type of animal is nocturnal. Now, we talked about as humans, even though we're typically diurnal, we can still do activities in the nighttime, right? Sometimes we just have to change up our sleeping patterns. Well, some animals will do that because they know that if they might be able to find more food. So it doesn't mean that they're going to do this all the time, but there are times where you might see animals that are nocturnal. You might see them out during the daytime. And that's very true for animals like corn snakes. So this is a corn snake, also known as a red rat snake. And this is my friend Goliath. He's saying hello to you by sticking his tongue out. He's actually smelling the environment by sticking his tongue out. So being a corn snake and having this beautiful coloration, he's able to camouflage really well. And that's going to help him hide from predators and even hide from prey items. So we were talking about the owls. They need to be able to quickly get from place to place without being noticed so they can sneak up on their prey and also get away from predators. And so the corn snake that I'm holding here needs to be able to camouflage just as well as the owl that we saw. And he's got this beautiful red coloration and pattern, which allows for him to be able to kind of look like tree bark. So he's going to be able to camouflage well. And if he really wanted to slither up a tree, maybe get into a bird's nest, he could easily do that. And he has very small eyes. So he's not going to depend on his vision as much in the nighttime. He's actually going to depend on his keen sense of smell. So he is going to be able to stick his tongue out. And, you know, for most of us, we think that sticking our tongue out is rude, but for snakes, it's a way of life. So he'll stick his tongue out, he'll flick it out, just like he was doing a minute ago. And once he puts his tongue back in his mouth, he will figure out what he's smelling. So his brain will say, oh, that's just Ashley. You know, she's just holding you, no big deal. Or Ashley had coffee this morning. You know, he's used to that smell, whatever it is. It's whenever they smell things like small mammals, which they love to eat, that's when their body says, oh, it's time to eat. We should act on that. And then, you know, they might slither towards where the food is. So just like you and I, if you smell something that smells really good, like, do you like Rice Krispie treats?
Yeah, also like cookies.
You like cookies? What's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip cookies? Okay, I love
I
chocolate chip cookies.
like the cookies.
You like cookies too?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that all of us like cookies. And I think our friend that also joined us this morning probably likes cookies too, huh? So cookies always smell good when they're being baked, right?
Yeah.
And that once you smell the cookies that smell coming from the oven, that makes you want the cookies even more, right? Because then you're like, oh, I can smell the cookie. I can smell the chocolate chips. It smells sweet. Oh, that smells amazing. And then your mind tells your body, I need that cookie. That cookie is going to be warm and gooey, and it's going to be so delicious. So the same thing happens with snakes whenever they smell whatever smell they enjoy, whatever food it is. If it's something that they are willing to eat and they know they're able to eat, then that's whenever, you know, maybe their mouth will start salivating and then they're like, oh, I've got to eat whatever it is. Just like when you and I smell cookies or think of cookies. So snakes are kind of similar in that sense, but it's because when they stick their tongue out and they flick it back into their mouth, their brain is telling them, hey, that person's just holding me up, or hey, that's my friend, or that's something I want to eat. So they have receptors in their brain too that work similar to ours. So do y'all have any questions so far about any of the animals that we've met?
Yeah.
What's yours?
Is the owl the owl you showed us, is it an endangered species?
That's a great question. He is not an endangered species. As long as we allow for these owls to stay wild and, you know, live their life out in the wild, then we shouldn't have any issues with these animals, you know, no longer being wild. And we shouldn't have any issues with them being endangered. So the most important thing we can do is just let these animals live their life, be free, enjoy being in the wild. Now, one of the reasons why we have the eastern screech owl is because he was actually given to us because he was kept in human care, and it was when he was really young, so he was no longer able to figure out how to find his own food. So that causes a problem because if he was fed by a human, he doesn't know how to hunt for his food, he's not going to be able to thrive and survive out in the wild, is he?
Yeah.
No. So he lives with us here at Cheehaw, and he's an education ambassador animal. So he can meet boys and girls like yourselves. And we do feed him because that's what he's used to. So he doesn't have to search for his own food. But, because someone had him, they collected him from the wild when he was young, that kept him from being able to be a wild animal. So we have him to care for him for the rest of his life. But these animals are not endangered. And as long as we also keep our ecosystems clean, these animals will be able to thrive and also have really great lives. So I do have one more animal for us today. Now, this is an animal that you're not going to be able to find in Georgia, but I thought that this one was neat, and I thought that you would want to see her because she is very nocturnal and she's kind of sleepy. So it might take me a minute to wake her up. Now, if you notice, I'm going to have on gloves and I'm going to have on a mask. So hopefully you'll be able to hear me. If you can't hear me, just let me know. But I do have on masks and a glove to protect this animal and myself because it's a mammal. And right now, with things going on with COVID-19, we have to be very careful, very safe. And here she is.
We saw her.
Did you meet her before? This is Green Bean, the hedgehog.
Yeah, we met her.
Yeah. Look, she is wide awake for you guys this morning. She's saying hi. She likes you. She doesn't wake up just for anybody. So green bean comes from Africa. Now, like we had probably talked about before, hedgehogs come from Europe and Africa. So there are different species of hedgehogs. And she's going to look a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter in color than most hedgehogs. And that's because she is actually an animal that people would typically keep as pets. Unfortunately, here in Georgia, they cannot be kept as pets. But they are nocturnal and they are messy and they make lots of noise at night when you're trying to sleep. If you've ever had a guinea pig as a pet, you might know that they're also very noisy at nighttime. And that's just because they're nocturnal.
How old is she?
So she is about 3.5 years old. And she's got a mom, a dad, and then a sister.
How long do they usually live?
So they usually live to be about 10 to 15 years old in captivity. So she's still got a long life ahead of her. And Miss Green Bean loves to search for bugs and food at night. So that's one of the reasons why she is out and about during the nighttime. Now here at Cheehaw, she's usually exercising a lot. She has a wheel that she likes to get on, and it's kind of like her treadmill. She'll get on it and she'll run on it all night long and make lots of noise and poop and run and poop and run and eat and poop and run. So I wasn't lying when I said that they're messy. It's silly, isn't it? Until you have to clean it up, and then it's not so fun. And then out in the wild, hedgehogs will usually walk up about 5 miles each night searching for food. And if you look at her, you'll notice that she's got very short legs. And walking 5 miles is a very big feat for her because she has those small legs. So she's not necessarily the fastest, and she doesn't have long strides when she walks. So it does take a lot of energy for her to be able to walk. So during the daytime, she rests up. So she has enough energy to look for her food at night. Now, if you look at her face here, you'll notice that she's got pretty big ears and she's got a long nose. That's a long nose for her little head. And so she's going to use that great ability to hear and that great sense of smell to be able to figure out what's going on in her surroundings here in captivity. And in the wild, that would help her because she's going to be able to hear where the insects are moving. She's going to be able to smell them, and she's going to be able to figure out where her predators might be coming from or where they are. And so she also has the ability, this is a very cool adaptation, because her hairs are hardened on her back, that's going to keep predators from wanting to eat her. Because if you're going to eat a cookie, do you want to eat a cookie that has spikes in it?
No.
No, we want to eat that soft cookie that's warm and gooey, right? Especially if it's chocolate chip. So her predators don't want to eat anything that's spiky either because it's going to hurt their mouth and possibly their nose and things like that. So she has the ability to ball up. Now she can't ball up as well because she loves to eat lots of treats. Her diet consists of lots of vegetables like greens, squash, romaine lettuce, things like that. And then she has a special insectivore diet that she eats to help her be big and strong. And she eats lots of juicy worms. And I'm not talking about sour gummy worms. She loves the worms that go crunch and then slurp. So green bean is a really great example of an animal that is nocturnal and how they have the ability to hear and smell and sometimes see really well at night. Now on her eyes are a bit small, so she's not going to rely on her eyes as much or her vision. She's going to really rely on that pointy little nose that is always moving. And as you can see, she hasn't stopped moving since I got her out, and her little nose has been moving the entire time. So she is sniffing her surroundings, trying to figure out what's going on, where she is, and maybe find a little snack in here in just a moment. So do we have any questions about nocturnal animals and their adaptations?
Yes.
What's your question?
Could she see good?
Can she see well? Okay. So she can see pretty well at night. However, that's not going to be her strongest sense. She's going to rely upon her nose and her ears, but she can still see really well. Her body is used to being up and active at night, so her eyes are able to adjust to seeing at nighttime. That's a great question. Do you have any more questions?
No.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. It's great having you here with us. Do we have any other questions?
Is that how much will she grow? I know she has more life, but does she grow more?
Good question. So that what size you saw her at is going to be about as big as she's going to get. She can maybe grow to be a little bit more chunky, but that's about it.
Her legs don't grow longer.
They don't. She is also a pygmy hedgehog, so she's going to stay very small. Other hedgehogs can have legs that are a bit longer, and they can sometimes grow, a little bit taller overall, but because of the species that she is, she's going to be rather small. When they start out as babies, they're very, very small. They're maybe about this big. They come out about that large, and then they grow pretty quickly over the first year, or really first 6 months to a year of life. And then after that, they're considered to be adults. Yeah, they're not like you and I, where we have a very long lifespan. So, we end up growing over our entire life. Some animals are a little bit different, where they actually will grow to be an adult very quickly, very early on in their life. So hedgehogs are just one of those animals. Well, all right. I really appreciate y'all joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I hope you learned a lot and had a great time talking about nocturnal animals with me. I learned a lot from you, and I appreciate you being here with me today, and I'll see you again soon. Y'all have a great day.